Welcome to Limitless Mind. Imagine spending decades searching for answers that were inside you all along. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you ever wanted, success, confidence, happiness, purpose, was never in a book, a mentor, or a program. It was in the choices you refused to make, the actions you kept delaying, and the excuses you allowed to control your life. For years, you may have blamed circumstances, other people, or bad luck. You may have told yourself you weren't ready, that tomorrow would be easier, that the timing wasn't right. But what if I told you that the life you've been waiting for isn't waiting for tomorrow? It's waiting for you to decide right now. In the next 25 minutes, you will hear truths that took me over 50 years to understand. Truths so simple yet so powerful that if you act on them today, your life can begin to change instantly. You will discover why knowledge alone is useless, why your identity determines your destiny, why pain ignored repeats, and why the questions you ask yourself shape everything. Most importantly, you will learn how to finally break free from excuses and take control of your future. Today is not just another day. Today is the day your life begins to shift. Are you ready to step forward? Most people believe their life will change the day they finally know enough. They think one more book, one more video, one more course, one more piece of advice will suddenly unlock confidence, discipline, success, or happiness. Years pass collecting information, but results stay the same. The hard truth is this: knowledge has never been the missing piece. Action has. Almost everyone already knows what would improve their life. They know they should take care of their health, manage their time better, speak honestly, stop procrastinating, build skills, and surround themselves with the right people. The gap between where they are and where they want to be is not ignorance, it is inconsistency. Success is built on simple actions done repeatedly, not complex ideas understood once. You don't need to know everything to move forward, you need to do the basics relentlessly. Wake up on time even when you don't feel like it. Keep your word when it's inconvenient. Show up when motivation disappears. Make the call you've been delaying. Finish what you start. These actions are not glamorous, but they are powerful. Most people wait to feel confident before they act, but confidence is a reward for action, not a requirement. The people who win are not the smartest, they are the most consistent. The reason consistency is so difficult is because the human mind is addicted to comfort. Doing what you already know forces you to confront resistance, fear, and self-doubt. Reading about discipline feels productive. Practicing discipline feels uncomfortable. Learning about courage feels inspiring. Acting courageously feels terrifying. The mind prefers preparation over execution because preparation protects the ego. As long as you are getting ready, you don't have to risk failure, but growth lives on the other side of discomfort, not inside your comfort zone. Every time you fail to act on what you already know, you train yourself to trust excuses more than your own potential. Over time, this erodes self-belief. You begin to doubt yourself, not because you can't do it, but because you repeatedly prove to yourself that you won't. On the other hand, every small action kept, every promise honored, every step taken despite resistance rebuilds self-trust. Momentum is not created by massive breakthroughs. It is created by small, boring, disciplined actions stacked daily. Another reality is that clarity often follows action, not the other way around. People say they are waiting to feel ready, waiting to be sure, waiting for the perfect plan. But readiness is a lie the mind uses to delay responsibility. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. You don't figure life out sitting still. You figure it out by moving, adjusting, and continuing forward. Doing what you already know, even imperfectly, is far more powerful than waiting for perfect understanding. Consistency also separates dreamers from leaders. Everyone wants the results, few want the routine. Everyone wants the transformation, few want the repetition. The secret most successful people discover is that motivation is unreliable, but systems and standards are not. They don't negotiate with their emotions. They don't wait for inspiration. They decide in advance who they are and how they act, regardless of mood. This identity-driven consistency is what compounds over time into extraordinary results. If you look honestly at your life, the answers are already there. You don't need more insight, you need more integrity with yourself, more follow-through, more courage to do the obvious things you've been avoiding. When you align your actions with what you already know, life begins to respond differently. Energy increases, confidence grows, opportunities appear, not because the world changed, but because you did. The greatest tragedy is not lack of potential, it is wasted potential buried under excuses and delays. You are not behind because you don't know enough. You are behind because you haven't consistently acted on what you already understand. The moment you stop searching for new answers and start honoring the ones you already have, everything begins to shift. Most people spend their lives trying to change their circumstances while ignoring the deeper force shaping every result they get. They blame time, luck, other people, the economy, or their past for where they are. But beneath every circumstance is an identity quietly directing their choices. Your life does not move in the direction of your wishes. It moves in the direction of who you believe you are. This understanding alone can save years of frustration and self-sabotage. Identity is the internal definition you hold about yourself, often unconsciously. It shows up in the words you use, the standards you accept, and the limits you never question. When someone sees themselves as not confident, they will avoid opportunities that demand courage. When someone believes they are bad with money, they will unconsciously make decisions that confirm that belief. Identity is powerful because the brain is designed to stay consistent with how it sees itself, even if that consistency creates pain. Most people try to change outcomes without changing identity. They set goals that conflict with who they think they are. They say they want success, but see themselves as someone who struggles. They want healthy relationships, but identify as someone who is always unlucky in love. This creates internal resistance. The mind will always protect identity before it protects dreams. That is why willpower fades and habits collapse. You are not failing because you are weak. You are failing because your identity is stronger than your goals. Real change begins the moment you decide to redefine who you are. Identity is not fixed. It is conditioned through repetition and emotional experience. You were not born believing what you believe about yourself. These ideas were formed through past experiences, words spoken to you, and moments you interpreted as proof. If identity was learned, it can be relearned. The fastest way to reshape it is through consistent action aligned with the person you choose to become. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. When you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the identity of someone who is disciplined and reliable. When you speak up despite fear, you strengthen the identity of someone who is courageous. When you rate less than you deserve, you reinforce the identity of someone who settles. Small actions matter because they send powerful signals to the subconscious about who you are. Your standards are a direct reflection of your identity. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. If you identify as someone who respects themselves, you won't stay in situations that drain you. If you identify as someone who grows, you won't stop at the first obstacle. Standards are not about perfection, they are about what you refuse to tolerate in your life. The moment your identity changes, your standards rise automatically. This is why lasting change feels instant when it happens. It is not that behavior suddenly becomes easy. It is that behavior becomes natural. You no longer force yourself to act differently because acting differently would feel out of alignment with who you are. When identity shifts, effort decreases. What once required motivation now feels like integrity. Look at any area where you feel stuck and ask yourself who you are being in that area. Not what you want, but who you believe you are. The answer will reveal the root cause. You don't need more discipline, more time, or more confidence. You need a new self-definition. Decide that you are the kind of person who follows through, who grows under pressure, who learns from setbacks, who respects their own future. The world will always respond to the version of you that shows up consistently. When you change your identity, your choices change. When your choices change, your habits change. When your habits change, your results change. You don't have to fight your circumstances forever. Change who you believe you are, and your circumstances will eventually have no choice but to follow. Most people believe pain is something to avoid, something to escape, something to numb or distract themselves from. They treat discomfort like an enemy instead of a messenger. But pain that is ignored does not disappear, it repeats. It shows up again in different forms, different relationships, different failures, and different frustrations, until the lesson is finally learned. What you refuse to feel today will control you tomorrow, and what you refuse to face will eventually define your future. Pain is not random. Emotional pain, mental stress, and recurring problems are signals trying to get your attention. They exist to point out misalignment between who you are, what you believe, and how you are living. When someone keeps ending up in toxic relationships, it is not bad luck, it is an unexamined pattern. When someone feels constantly stuck, overwhelmed, or dissatisfied, it is not because life is unfair, it is because something important is being avoided. Pain repeats because awareness never arrived. Avoidance is the most expensive habit a human being can have. We avoid difficult conversations, painful truths, personal responsibility, and uncomfortable emotions because facing them threatens our self-image. Avoidance feels safe in the moment, but it quietly compounds into regret. The mind convinces you that tomorrow will be a better time, that you'll deal with it later, that it's not that serious. But later becomes years, and years become a life that feels smaller than it should. Awareness is the first real breakthrough because it ends unconscious living. The moment you become aware, you regain choice. Before awareness, patterns run automatically. You react the same way, tolerate the same things, and repeat the same mistakes without understanding why. Awareness interrupts this cycle. It allows you to step back and see the pattern instead of being trapped inside it. You cannot change what you are not willing to acknowledge. Many people fear awareness because they confuse it with self-judgment. They think looking honestly at their pain means admitting failure or weakness. In reality, awareness is an act of courage and self-respect. It is the moment you stop lying to yourself. It is the moment you say, something here needs attention. That single moment of honesty is often more powerful than years of pretending everything is fine. Pain becomes destructive only when it is unconscious. When pain is brought into awareness, it transforms. It becomes information. It shows you where your boundaries are weak, where your values are compromised, where your needs are unmet, and where your growth is being resisted. The goal is not to eliminate pain, but to listen to it. Pain is feedback. CK, not punishment. Every breakthrough story begins with awareness. Someone realizes they have been settling. Someone notices they are driven by fear instead of purpose. Someone sees that their anger is covering unresolved hurt. These realizations are uncomfortable, but they are liberating. The moment you see the truth, you are no longer powerless. You may not change everything instantly, but you are no longer blind. Repeating pain is exhausting because it feels uncontrollable. You ask yourself why the same problems keep happening, why the same emotions keep returning, why growth feels stuck. The answer is almost always the same. There is something you have been unwilling to feel, say, or decide. Awareness does not require you to fix everything at once. It only requires honesty, and honesty opens the door to choice. When you bring awareness to your pain, responsibility replaces blame. You stop asking, who did this to me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? That shift alone restores personal power. Responsibility does not mean self-criticism, it means self-leadership. It means recognizing that while you may not control everything that happened to you, you do control how consciously you respond moving forward. The most dangerous pain is the pain that becomes normal. When dissatisfaction becomes routine, when stress becomes identity, when emotional numbness becomes comfort. Awareness breaks normalization. It reminds you that this is not how life is meant to feel, that our imender is often the beginning of transformation. Growth does not begin with motivation or confidence. It begins with awareness. The moment you see clearly, you cannot unsee. The moment you become aware, the pattern loses its grip. Pain ignored repeats, but pain understood evolves into wisdom and strength. Most people live their lives on autopilot, reacting to events instead of directing them. They wake up, go through routines, deal with problems, and repeat the same emotional patterns without realizing that one invisible force is shaping it all. The questions they ask themselves. The mind is a powerful search engine, but it only finds answers to the questions it is given. Ask disempowering questions and you will get disempowering answers. Ask better questions and your entire inner world begins to shift. When something goes wrong, the first question many people ask is why this is happening to them. That single question immediately positions them as a victim. The mind responds by listing reasons that reinforce helplessness, bad luck, or external blame. Energy drops, motivation disappears, options shrink. The problem doesn't just remain, it grows heavier. The question itself becomes the problem. Without realizing it, people talk themselves into powerlessness simply by the way they question their experience. The quality of your questions determines what you focus on, and what you focus on determines how you feel and what you do. When you ask what you can control, the mind sees. RCG is for options. When you ask what you can learn, the mind searches for meaning. When you ask what the next step is, the mind searches for action. These questions shift you from reaction to direction. They don't deny difficulty, they transform how you engage with it. High performers experience fewer problems, they experience better thinking in the middle of problems. Instead of asking why this is happening, they ask how they can use it. Instead of asking what they lost, they ask what remains. Instead of asking why they failed, they ask what this is preparing them for. These questions generate resilience because they keep the mind in a state of possibility rather than paralysis. Your future is being shaped daily by the questions you ask when no one is watching. In moments of stress, uncertainty, or fear, your internal dialogue becomes louder. If that dialogue is filled with questions that imply limitation, the brain responds by shutting down creativity. But when questions imply strength and agency, the brain opens up. You don't need perfect confidence to move forward. You need empowering questions that guide your attention in the right direction. Questions also shape identity. If you constantly ask why you are not good enough, your mind will produce evidence to support that belief. If you ask how you can grow stronger from this, your mind begins to rewire itself toward progress. Over time, these questions become habits, and those habits become personality traits. What starts as a question becomes a way of being. Many people underestimate how quickly questions can change emotional states. In seconds, a single question can shift you from anxiety to focus, from frustration to curiosity, from hopelessness to determination. This is not positive thinking, it is strategic thinking. It is choosing questions that move you forward instead of keeping you stuck. The most empowering questions are not complicated. They are simple, direct, and action-oriented. What is one thing I can do right now to improve this situation? What is this experience trying to teach me? What would my best self do in this moment? These questions cut through emotional noise and create momentum. They remind you that even in chaos, you still have influence. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or directionless, don't look for new answers. Look at the questions you are asking. Your life reflects them. Change the questions and you change the direction of your focus. Change your focus and your behavior changes. Change your behavior consistently and your future shifts. The quality of your questions is not a small thing. It is the steering wheel of your life. And every day you're either turning it consciously or letting it drift on its own. Most people believe change is a slow process that requires perfect timing, ideal circumstances, and endless motivation. They tell themselves they will act when they feel ready, when fear disappears, when confidence arrives, or when life becomes less complicated. Years pass waiting for a moment that never comes. The truth is, real change happens in an instant, but only when that instant becomes a decision that allows no retreat. Excuses survive only where decisions are weak. Every human being knows what they should change. The problem is not awareness, it is negotiation. People negotiate with themselves daily. Just this once, I'll start tomorrow. I'm tired, I deserve a break. It's not the right time. These negotiations feel harmless, but they silently destroy momentum. Each excuse accepted becomes permission to repeat the same behavior. Over time, excuses don't just delay progress, they shape identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who acts and start seeing yourself as someone who intends. A real decision is different from a preference. Preferences are flexible, emotional, and temporary. Decisions are firm, clear, and backed by action. When you decide, there is no backup plan that includes staying the same. Most people think they have decided, but what they really did was express a desire. Desire says, I want to change. Decision says, I will change no matter what it costs. Life responds to decisions, not wishes. The reason excuses feel so convincing is because they protect comfort and ego. Change threatens familiarity. Even pain can feel familiar, and familiarity feels safe. Excuses allow you to avoid discomfort while preserving the illusion of future success. You can still believe you are capable without roving it. But potential untested turns into frustration. At some point, the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of changing. That moment is where real decisions are born. When a decision becomes non-negotiable, behavior follows naturally. You no longer debate with yourself. You no longer ask if you feel like it. The inner argument ends. This is why people often change instantly after hitting an emotional breaking point. It is not because they suddenly learned something new. It is because excuses lost their power. The decision became final. Non-negotiable decisions reshape standards. You stop asking what is convenient and start asking what is required. Standards define what you tolerate from yourself and from life. When standards rise, excuses fall away. You don't need constant motivation when your standards are clear. You act because that is who you have decided to be. Many people fear making non-negotiable decisions because they worry about failure. They think committing fully increases the risk of disappointment. In reality, lack of commitment guarantees disappointment. Half-hearted effort produces half-hearted results, which reinforces self-doubt. Full commitment, even when imperfect, builds self-respect. You begin to trust yourself because you see yourself honoring your own word. The moment you remove excuses, responsibility returns. Responsibility is not a burden, it is power. It reminds you that while you cannot control everything, you can always control your response, your effort, and your standards. Excuses place power outside you. Decisions bring power back home. Look at any area where you feel stuck and ask yourself one honest question. Have I truly decided, or have I been negotiating? If the answer is negotiation, then clarity is your next step. Decide what you will no longer accept. Decide what action you will take regardless of mood, fear, or convenience. Decide who you are committed to becoming. Real change does not require perfect conditions. It requires a moment of truth where excuses are no longer an option. That moment is always available. The life you want is not waiting for motivation, confidence, or permission. It is waiting for a decision that you refuse to reverse. Now, listen carefully, because this is where everything shifts. All the insights, all the lessons, all the realizations we've discussed mean nothing if you don't. Take one decisive step right now. You have spent decades, years, maybe even decades, waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. That moment doesn't exist. Motivation doesn't arrive on schedule. Confidence is never fully ready. The only thing that exists is now, and the only thing that matters is what you decide to do with it. The life you've imagined, the goals you've set, the person you want to become, none of it will happen until you stop negotiating with yourself and start deciding with unshakable commitment. I am asking you to stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for clarity, and stop waiting for circumstances to be ideal. Everything you've been searching for externally, the answers, the opportunity, the breakthrough, lives within you. It lives in the way you act, the decisions you make, the promises you keep to yourself. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Knowledge alone, insight alone, awareness alone, they are meaningless without execution. It's not enough to want it. It's not enough to dream it. You must move consistently and intentionally in alignment with your vision. From this moment forward, I want you to make a decision that changes everything. Decide that excuses no longer hold power over you. Decide that fear will no longer dictate your choices. Decide that the person you've always wanted to be is the person you will start becoming today through deliberate action. Decide that small, consistent steps are more valuable than waiting for a giant leap. Decide that your standards are higher than your comfort zone and that your integrity will always outweigh your convenience. This is the moment where you take control. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now. And then act. Take one step immediately, no matter how small, that aligns with the life you deserve. Make that phone call you've been delaying. Start the project you've been postponing. Speak the truth you've been avoiding. Commit to a habit that will build your future. Each action is a vote for the person you are becoming, and each vote compounds into momentum, confidence, and freedom. Momentum is unstoppable once you begin, and the energy you generate will carry you further than you ever imagined. You already have everything you need to succeed. You have the intelligence, the creativity, the resilience, and the courage. What you need now is commitment, the kind that doesn't back down, the kind that won't negotiate, the kind that rises every time you're tempted to settle, quit, or wait. Life will reward the person who decides and then acts. It will challenge the person who hesitates. And it will leave behind those who refuse to step forward. So stand up, make that decision, and take that step. Decide that from this moment, nothing is stronger than your commitment to your own growth. Decide that your life will no longer be defined by waiting, fear, or excuses. Decide that you are done postponing your potential, and then act relentlessly, consistently, courageously, because your time is now and your life belongs to you. Take the decision, take the action, and let everything else fall into place.